Okay. Um, I'm going. So I'm going. Edit words. I do not. So since my stream crashed yesterday, I'm going to go over some of the last couple minutes over again to make sure everything is working out. Um, right. There we go. So one of the first things, it, one of the first pieces I'm going to go over is the amount of seats that Democrats are flipping. Currently, I believe. Did I accidentally? No, did not. I want to double check this. No. Oh yeah. So Democrats so far have flipped over. Have flipped 28 seats and might now be 29 because of the special election that just happened in Florida. So it is very interesting and I know that at the same time Trump's polling numbers are going down as well. We're just gonna do it. Close. And I forgot to open a software. Oh wait, no, I didn't. I got her brain me.
CNN projects Democrat Emily Gregory.
I hope so if I also switch. And I was making. There we go. And one more thing. There we go.
CNN projects Democrat Emily Gregory will flip a Republican House.
Okay, and there we go. They title this very weirdly CNN. Okay.
Held state House seat, whose district includes President Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort. CNN chief data analyst Harry Enden is with me now. I mean, ouch.
How delicious for Democrats this morning. My goodness gracious, they're waking up. Maybe they're going to get brunch at Mar-a-Lago and say yummy, yummy, because laughing over there. Look at this. In 2024, Donald Trump won it by 11 points. Look at this swing all the way to the left. We got Gregory the Democrat
That's actually
winning
decent.
it by 2 points in the State House special election. I will also note that they flipped a state Senate district as well further north in the state. So double fun for Democrats in a state that they have been struggling with. Democrats have lost so much power in Florida over the last decade, and then they're able to win in Donald Trump's backyard. Democrats are absolutely loving it this morning.
I'm laughing because you said that they were going to have brunch at Mar-a-Lago.
Okay. And I need a double check. But no, I didn't misinterpret the video. That was me being silly. I thought it was going to go over more of 24 to 26. But anyway, but to that point. And I know at the exact same time there's other seats that were lost. I'm reading I have articles I'm reading off. I will I actually don't. Yeah. Just see that now. That work. And we're going. And why is it not finding my application? That's weird. Okay. So what I was going to do. Sorry. I just shocked myself, I think. I don't know. I know. One of the things that I thought was very interesting is this is actually from a special election in Florida that the seat was technically open since last year and it was just done this year. Yeah, Democrats flipped 13 Virginia seats and 5 in New Jersey in November. I also did not realize the Democrat. What the heck is? Yeah, I don't. Um, so they I did not realize that well, it makes sense they have a plan, but I didn't realize they publicized the plan. So they want to like get 42 more chambers switched over for this year. $50 investment. Um, they so, want to create supermajorities in Delaware House, Nevada Assembly, New Mexico House, New York Senate, Oregon Senate, Vermont House, Senate, and Washington House. And and I those I'm curious. I do have an interesting website that um is being tracked right now. So I'm wondering if it actually tracks on billionaire kingmakers as well. Okay. 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 And there we go. And I'm also going to check. Wait now. There has to be a way. I'm right now checking dashboards right now because I'm paranoid if the stream is working well or not. While all my pages are loading. This is the breakdown of the billionaire party's spending and that stuff. And so Democrats got like 87 point million. I don't know what some of these families' names are. This is from the federal FEC's data and that stuff, which is publicly accessible. And this is the American for Fairness Act. I Huh. Okay. No, I just I did technical. Wait. What? I don't remember. Okay. Uh, and so this should make it. Oh, if I could select that. Okay, there we go. Um. And also, oh, now I remember. It's very interesting because it also seems like the GOP are going to go for the people who are usually abstaining or couch sitting and that stuff. So it looks like the Democrats not, which I wonder if there's like a poll that shows how many people who are centrists who are politically active, but like vote. Like, I mean, but that's what I mean by politically active. And and differentiating between centrists who choose not to go to the poll. I think that might be too much nuance. Well, too much. It's a very weird answer. Uh, and there we go. Uh, so I think that wow, I am having a hard time speaking today. I'm just thinking about like never mind. I actually haven't um and I know there's a lot of issues that Trump is having a hard time reclaiming right now. There's the issues of the whole entire whatever the military effort that he is trying to do in Iran is very concerning. And I to me it doesn't make sense why he did that in the first place. Uh, and yeah, so his approval rating's like 36% now, and his disapproval rating is 62%. Oh, I think I figured. I'm also using this time to also fix some technical things I'm doing. Okay. I'm confused. Okay. I don't know what happened there. It was a weird glitch. Um, oh, I I keep forgetting they color code things because they yeah, so it seems like the war efforts are very concerning. And I believe the barrels are getting close to 150, which from my understanding, that's a very concerning point. I heard there's even plans of going up to, like, worst case scenario, like, $200 per barrel. I'm more One of my concerns is probably better verbiage, is about how that's going to increase the pricing of everything. I know USPS said they are now adding an 8% tax because the fuel costs are going up so much, and that's a very fair concern. But I'm trying to see if I missed anything. I'm double checking. Oh, I find it very it's also very interesting that the GOP is outspending roughly 10 to 1, but some of the Democrats are still winning, which is very intriguing. I also I'm going to add that to one of my research notes, um, where I want to see how much funding each state gets for politicians per state. I think that'd be an interesting thing to go down. Well, to read about. That was the weirdest word I could chose. Okay. Mm. And so wow. I got jump scared. So jump scared prone. Okay, moving on. Uh, Also, it's very interesting that the previous special election was because it was a Floridian. Well, I don't know if I know if I can call them Florida or anything because they didn't live in the correct area. Very interesting. Um, and it's very like what I've seen, and I want to be proven wrong. I don't see a lot of the GOP critiquing, like I want to say critiquing themselves, but like, obviously everyone can always improve. And it's concerning that like the GOP that I've seen that like saying what their plans are, um, that it's was granted because they didn't want to talk about their losses and how they can improve from those losses. And I find that highly concerning of any party not to openly explain their concerns or thought processes about the losses. And so I don't know what's going. Also, ex- I need to see if there's a way to see when the next ad is because that's one of the concerns I have is going to go off and I don't know it. Oh, okay. There we go. I just figured it out. And so, okay. Um, we're going to close that. And we're going to set up work. So there we go. Sorry, wow, did I really start that late? Must have. I don't. Oh, is it because... Okay, weird. Anyway, I don't think I can extend this much longer, so we're going to go to the next point. And so there's the ever growing topic of... It's not... Okay. The ever-growing topic about Congress stock trading ban. And there's a video that I want to watch. And I'm just worried. Okay.
Some members in Congress
It helps if I actually have the picture. Dream up.
are trying to ban one of the most powerful groups in the country from buying and selling stocks. Themselves.
Members of Congress should not be playing the stock market while we're in office.
Shouldn't be padding their own pockets.
You don't own this stuff, you don't trade in this stuff, you're done.
A majority of voters want this too, and not like America's normal majority, where 51% of people think, sure, and 49 are so angry they black out. Poll after poll found that somewhere around 70% of Americans think members of Congress should not be allowed to trade stocks. A bipartisan group of representatives sent a letter asking House leadership to, quote, swiftly bring legislation for a ban to the floor. You know they mean business when they send a strongly worded email to their own manager begging them to please stop letting us make so much money, and while in office. Another would extend that requirement to dependent children. Same with another bill that already has at least 45 co-sponsors. Pelosi's support means a lot, both as the Speaker of the House and as someone who reported around $12 million of stock transactions last year. But a ban still isn't a sure thing because not everyone wants it, like other members who are already making bank on the market. Around 40% of Congress owned individual stocks in 2020. And last year, 27 members reported personal trade totals of over $1 million. There's nothing wrong with trying to make extra cash on the side. Some people sell earrings online and others make $66 million worth of trades in a single year. The difference being the typical Etsy vendor can't manipulate the whole country's earring supply. And that's almost exactly what lawmakers can do. In 2020, at least 15 members of defense committees also happened to be invested in defense contractors.
That's disturbing. One of the things I got distracted because I went to look into Nancy Pelosi real quick. It makes sense that she is. And I might have to... I just might not be able to stream. Okay, I don't know. So that's weird. I thought my Wi-Fi went down again. So I'm also watching that. So, like, she has a decent amount of stocks. All of this over... Whoa! A small amount of stocks of $250,000 to $1 million. Okay. Wow, okay, makes sense. Going back before we scroll.
And when tech CEOs testified in Congress that their business models weren't just old-timey monopolies, 72 lawmakers own stock in Apple, 45 in Google, and 44 in Amazon. Then there are the 75 members who own stock in Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson. Members who also were part of deciding to give those same companies $10 billion to make and distribute vaccines. It wasn't even technically illegal for lawmakers to use privileged information until the Stock Act passed in 2012. But since then, exactly 0 members of Congress have been charged. On average, lawmakers outperform the market. So either something else is going on, or we just happen to elect a group of the luckiest people in history. Like Oklahoma Representative Kevin Hern, who bought up to $100,000 in Lockheed Martin stocks. That was just 2 weeks before it was announced that the company won an almost $11 billion contract with the Air Force. Sure, maybe the man loves planes. Who doesn't? But Hern also serves on the House Budget Committee. And yeah, that sounds like convenient timing,
So
but
much
there's
a
no way of
conflict of
knowing
interest.
what led to his decision.
And one of the things, like, yes, there needs to be a stock ban, but how do you get a stock ban of the people who you would have to put a you would have to get a group of people who take advantage of that not being an enforced rule right now. I don't know. I don't know how you can make Congress do it. I wish there.
Members of Congress have a
I have
super
to think
special
about that.
constitutional protection. They can't be questioned about things they learned in their capacity as a lawmaker. So we can never actually prove what's insider intel and what's dumb luck. In February 2020, some senators got a confidential briefing on COVID, and right afterward, a few of them conveniently dumped hundreds of thousands of dollars of stocks before the pandemic market crash. They were investigated but never charged, leaving all of us without an answer to our question. Are you kidding me?
People die?
One of the things that's supposed to keep members of Congress from using privileged information is transparency. Lawmakers are required to disclose all personal stock activity, except a lot of them don't. Last year, at least 55 members of Congress either whoops, disclosed late, or double whoops, not at all. It's not just elected officials. At least 182 high-ranking congressional staffers also didn't properly disclose personal trades over the last 2 years. And when members don't disclose, nothing really happens. Well, actually, that's not true. They could be fined up to $200, which is a lot for a parking ticket. But some of these trades total over $1 million. So 200 is low enough to make you wonder, is that a typo? That's a typo, right? Members of Congress have already said pulling off a ban will be complicated. They'll have to consider what counts as trading. Should spouses be included? And what about staffers?
Yes.
But for most
I think
voters,
anyone
it's pretty
within like one chain, like first, I think, I cannot speak. Grandparents, siblings, children, and maybe 1 or 2 chains, like, of immediate family because, like, I wanna get nieces and nephews under there because those are usually considered because of my kids play with their cousins' kids. So, but
pretty simple. You were elected to address the issues, not make money off them.
and okay. There we go. And so and I believe okay. So it will actually tell me when an ad's about to start in a minute. And the if it's actually working today, I am so happy. The countdown. I am very proud of that. Wait, I have to make sure I'm not watching anything else. Okay. And so then and I will actually use this time to
It is wrong.
and I have another video because I will fully admit I do not understand or I will words. I will be watching another video about stocks because I will fully admit I do not understand all that. So it's going to be interesting. And I believe an ad's starting. Gonna start. I don't know. I think Twitch is glitching out. So that's why I'm like very confused. Figure out. So I think that should be everything. I should have checked. Not checked. So that's awesome. Oh, crap. I wanted to watch this video. Oral behavior. I am school.
Wrong fundamentally, and the American people know it's wrong.
When people think of the best investor in the world, the person who knows the stock market best, they often think of Warren Buffett. Buffett regularly beats the market with his investments, netting about a 19% return, which is pretty good. If you put your money in an index fund, you'll often get about 10% a year. So Warren Buffett nearly doubles that. Not bad. But there is one group that beats the market by even wider margins, taking in massive profits. They aren't math geniuses, they aren't experts in statistics, and they aren't using an algorithm developed by some tech startup. And they don't work at a stock exchange on the trading floor. They work here.
Know if every congressperson went to college. Oh, maybe. I have to see how many of them actually, like, what, I think a lot of them are lawyers and that stuff. I'm just curious to see what, like, their majors are.
On the floor of Congress. They're your elected representatives, and they are beating the market by margins that make even Warren Buffett look like an absolute chump. We get questions from you, our audience, quite a lot about how members of Congress get so rich. After all, they have a fixed salary. They can't have a bunch of income on the side or just have another job.
Okay.
Turns out, the answer is a little boring. It's mostly be rich already before you're elected to Congress, have a rich spouse, and maybe write a weird book. But there's another big part of the answer, and it's all of this. Play the stock market and do it better than almost anyone else. So how are members of Congress doing this? Did we accidentally elect generationally talented stock traders? Or is something else happening here beneath the surface? This is a look at how members of Congress get rich through some of their most suspicious recent stock trades and what, if anything, can be done about it.
And the reason for all of this is that, quite frankly, members of this body are privy to information that the normal person just is not.
So again, we have plenty of protections. We have the disclosure. This is a completely unnecessary piece of legislation.
We signed up for this job. We knew what the pay was. It isn't a, we're going to pay you this much plus corruption.
I don't know how many people in the audience, how many of you don't want to make money? Anybody want to be poor? I don't.
Didn't you, like, do the...
I'm going to take you back to February 20...
Wasn't that Rick Scott, a Florida representative, accused of doing massive fraud in Florida? And I believe it was, like, with medical stuff? Why can't you get money and still be ethical?
2020. At this point, nobody in the public really knows just how bad this whole coronavirus thing would be. But if you were a US senator who sits on the Intelligence and Health Committees, like Richard Burr, who gets confidential...
Okay, I'm going to tell... I'm going to... So, I'm going to see if my model fixes it herself. But there we go. So I was, like, doing college. I don't like that word either. I was in college. And I was in, I wanna say, like, public it was, like, world, I'm trying to think of the word, but it was basically world relations to each other and how each country impacts another. And one of the things we had to do in the first, like, 15 minutes, well, okay, it was, like, 15 minutes, we had to, read article, understand the article, digest the article, and then break it down, and then report it to the teacher or the class. Um, and basically, I wanna say this was not, yeah, it was 2019. And we were looking at other countries' news and that stuff. And I'm my belief is I'm always going to believe that China is going to basically underplay what is going on in their country if it's a bad event that's happening. That is my belief. And I remember every single day. No, it had to be no, it had to be 2020 because we got a day. I'm pretty sure it's 2020. And I read some of, I believe I heard that the C-19 um thing just because of reading articles. I think I may have read one. But anyway, but in 2020, back to my main point. I remember every single day, someone and a different person, not even the same person, was mentioning this virus that was spreading across the whole entire world. It was slowly moving from China closer to US. And people were talking about it every single day. And I remember my professor was getting to the point that he started yelling and getting annoyed about people mentioning every single day. He's like, "It's not gonna be a big thing. You're all overreacting. You're just being hyper vigilant over a nonsense concern." And I remember I went to spring break and which is a week long. And I went, and then I got an email from the school and saying, "Yeah, please do not come back during the," that harshly. I mean, so this whole entire debacle is becoming a bigger thing. So y- we don't we don't we're not going to have in-person classes. And so they had to start making plans about online classes. And so it's very interesting to see, I think if someone was very engaged, they might have gotten a for well, all that the whole entire story was to say if someone's very engaged, they might have been able to predict that it was going to come here. I'm not going to say the impact because maybe if you're a doctor and you're reading one of those reports, you might be able to tell. But I'm saying the average person who does not have a medical degree. Or maybe if they had a relative or a family member who understood these things, they might understand. But I saw big I would say masks are a good bet. Vaccines information, no. I would not be able to predict who was going to do that. And only Congress would be able to do that much. That's probably what the video was going to say. Which, and I went off a tangent. I guess that's what I do. But going on to the video.
Briefings on threats to the US, you might have a pretty good idea of what's coming. Publicly, at the time, Burr seemed confident that this COVID situation wasn't that bad, that the US was ready. On February 7th, he wrote an op-ed for Fox News saying just as much. But on February 13th, just a day later, Burr was dumping his entire portfolio, selling off a ton of stock, potentially up to $1.7 million worth. But here's the thing. He did all of this while the market was at an all-time high. Why would he do that? Maybe because he was receiving closed-door briefings telling him that this virus was going to be bad for the US economy in a big way. Soon after, the market did crash, the economy did shut down, and Senator Burr miraculously dodged the financial ruin that many of his constituents felt at that time. Now,
So my thing is, there is actually becomes a security risk for the US if they do this, because, like, using that logic of deduction, like, I do not hit things on my table. Um, using that logic of deduction, if I know key players of the, Congress, like defense, health, and I see all of a sudden they pull out a bunch of stock, then that could be a forecasting system, basically, if something bad's gonna happen. The only thing I do think that Congress only has to report every quarter. Wait, hold on, let me double check that. Let's see what unusual whales. While I look into what unusual whales has, I'm going to play the rest
If
of
you're
this
thinking
video.
to yourself, that sounds like it should be illegal, I had the same reaction. And you would be right, sort of. You see, in the United States, we have laws against what we call insider trading.
The buying and selling of stock by corporate insiders who have access to non-public information that could affect the stock price can be a criminal offense.
Now, I don't work for the FBI, but to my untrained eye, this looks a lot like a politician using his insider knowledge to dump his entire stock portfolio before a market crash, all while assuring the public that everything was okay. Apparently, the FBI disagreed because after conducting an investigation, all charges were dropped against Senator Burr.
Okay, I need to look into that then, because that's like,
And they found no wrongdoing. He got off completely scot-free, which is shocking to me. We have a specific law against insider trading just for members of Congress. It's called the Stock Act. Stop trading on congressional knowledge. Cute, I know. But to me, this law looks like it doesn't work at all. Because here's the thing, Senator Burr, he's not the exception. To better understand how widespread this issue is, and if one party is doing it more than the other,
I sat down with Chris Kardatsky of Quiver Quantitative, a company that uses alternative public data sources to help retail investors make better decisions. Because apparently, one of the best ways to do that is by tracking members of Congress.
Last year, we launched a portfolio on an app called Autopilot. Every month, it buys stock in the companies that are being bought
I have very dark humor, so.
The most by members of Congress. And since we've launched that last year, it's risen around 33%, I believe, whereas the market is up around 24% over the same time frame.
Is either political party worse on this? Does one party trade more than the other one?
We haven't seen any sort of lean one way or the other. We see suspicious trades.
Like, no, looking at unusual whales, which is like a way that I might look into the Quitter, but no, I mean, the top person is a Democrat. I didn't know that she was Republican. I'm talking about Virginia Fox. I didn't realize that person's Republican. Yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene. I didn't know Trump. Okay. I mean, okay, I thought you just said crypto. I didn't realize he had stocks. Okay. So that's very interesting.
On both sides of the aisle.
Are there any other examples of trades that you've been watching recently that you could walk us through?
Back in November, we noticed Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz buying stock in a company called Viasat. And it really caught our eye because it was the first time we'd seen her buy the stock, and it was the first time we'd seen any member buy the stock.
Okay, so Debbie Wasserman Schultz sits on the Appropriations Committee and the Subcommittee on Military Construction. That's not a...
Okay, hold on. Let me look at this real quick because I'm going to use.
Like
looking
right
at
off
the Appropriations Committee.
Debbie. I need to finish making that. Okay, so she's a congresswoman. Okay. That means I have to search the House then. Oh, and she's a Democrat. Okay. Uh. but nope, she's on corporations for agriculture, energy and water, married to construction, Veterans Affairs, and relative. Okay.
And the subcommittee on military construction. That's not a good look right off the bat.
And then in December, it was an.
So I keep moving this. Oopsie. And the committee positions just switch every single time, but there's a sometimes a change is when there's a new Congress session, but most likely will actually no. A change. Sorry, that's incorrect wording. The correct wording is committee assignments will change depending on if the majority party changes. And so since the majority party is not in the House has not changed since Trump got elected. Well, since the Trump got into his position. I'm not thinking of words. Since you guys see it. And there's a slight majority in Republicans. But there is four vacant seats. So it's going to be interesting to see that what could be enough to change the majority. It'll be interesting to see how the committee seats change because of that fact.
Announced that Viasat would be awarded part of like a $4 billion NASA contract, and the stock just rose.
Looks like they got another big contract also with the Department of Defense right after the NASA contract.
A couple years ago, we saw Representative Susie Lee buy stock in a company called Rheinmetall.
Rheinmetall?
Which is a German defense contractor, which, I mean, that rang alarm bells for us because it's like, it was a stock we hadn't really seen any members trade before, and obviously very tied into U.S. defense policy.
It's like they're doing a lot of work with the Army lately. Tank modernization, I bet there's big money in that.
Susie Lee sat on a committee on military construction, and since then the stock's risen like, I think 250%. Last year we saw Senator Mark Wayne Mullen buy stock in a company called Badger Meter, which really caught our attention because Badger Meter makes automated water meters, and Senator Mark Wayne Mullen sits on the Senate Committee on Environment and Public Works, and we learned that the EPA had recently passed a mandate basically encouraging cities to switch to automated water meters. The year following the trade, Badger Meter stock rose around 40% before Senator Mark Wayne Mullen closed his position. In April of this year, we saw Marjorie Taylor Greene buying up stock.
Deal with this. Okay, that's gonna be interesting because I know she's always been like a lot for those actions. But it's very. I'm just thinking. I knew this was a problem, but I did not realize the money amount. It's like, how do you imagine what $1 million is like? It gets to the point where the money is so absurdly large, it's hard to even imagine how much is actually a play above.
Dozens of different companies, and a lot of them were companies which we hadn't seen her buy before, and we hadn't seen almost any members of Congress buy before. So there's one company which stood out to us in particular, which was Restoration Hardware, which I'd heard of just days earlier when the stock price had plummeted following like the Liberation Day tariff announcements. That was when Marjorie Taylor Greene decided she wanted to buy the stock. And then over the next, I think, week, when the tariff announcements started to get rolled back, the stock rose like 30%. I think by our estimates in total, she made around $100,000 off of all of those trades she made during the tariff dip. She's claimed that those trades were made by her financial advisor.
Guess what he did? He bought the dip. And that's what anybody that has any financial sense does when they know the market's going to be going down.
I mean, this tariff chaos stuff is crazy. 55 days, 2,200 trades, millions and millions of dollars. Are members of Congress just day traders?
We've been seeing a lot of crypto trades recently.
President Trump is also taking a victory lap today, signing into law the first ever major federal cryptocurrency legislation.
Trading meme coins in general definitely raises an eyebrow.
This all feels so obvious.
Okay, let's stop there. After talking to Chris about these trades, I was a little confused and honestly pretty frustrated. I have to wonder, how is nobody going to jail for this?
Insider trading is really hard to prove. You need to show not only did somebody have material, non-public information that could have informed a particular stock trade, but you need to show that they made the stock trade because of that information. So in the rare instances where we do see members of Congress getting convicted of insider trades, it's usually because they made a phone call to somebody or they wrote a text or sent an email.
Okay.
So they're admitting guilt on paper, or basically admitting guilt. Okay. Okay. I'm just trying to think about how reductionary that is. Okay, I'm going to continue
prove
watching.
insider trading in any of these cases.
But even if you don't buy this story that I'm telling you, even if you think that members of Congress are some of the most talented stock traders in the world, without backgrounds in finance and without trading on insider information, I would say two things. One, even the appearance of trading on insider information is a bad look. It erodes public trust in government. And two, members of Congress holding massive amounts of stock in American companies will likely impact their behavior, consciously or...
It also will impact, like, I'm pretty sure the companies can see which, people, like, who buys their stock. And that. So, like, even if it's, like, not just because of they have a now interest because of their stockholder. So, like, that would corporations can use that as a leverage within and that stuff, or more use that event, not even, like, maliciously, because, like, I guess maybe, but, like, what I mean is more subtly, as in, like, if Amazon knows that Bob Schmo has 200 million in Amazon, I know that and I know that he has a decent network of... I'm trying to think of a word. A decent sized network of influence around him. So maybe he's a whip, or maybe he's a friend with the whip. And he knows that he can basically pressure other members of Congress not to put legislation that would limit Amazon and that stuff. And so Amazon can, so encouraging, I don't say encouraging, but not discouraging Amazon from doing very bad behaviors. Like, there's, like, the, Amazon and the delivery drivers not having enough time to go to the bathroom. That should be illegal. But if I know that Bob Schmo basically has a bunch of stocks, he most likely is not going to do any action that would hurt Amazon. So I know how safe I am as a company, depending on who stocks. And I probably explained that way too wordy for my own good, but yeah.
Unconsciously. According to the data that we looked at, Democrats love owning tech stocks. I'm talking Nvidia, Google, Apple, Palantir.
That's
it's all over these disclosures. So is it any wonder that we have such a hard time regulating these massive tech companies in the United States? Why would members of Congress vote against their own portfolios? Members of Congress should not be allowed to own stock in the companies that they are tasked to regulate. And it turns out the vast majority of Americans agree with this sentiment. Even the Speaker of the House.
Whoa, go back. Wow. I have never seen... I don't get how national is lower than Republican, because centrist is... Okay. I don't know how these numbers work out to the... Okay, whatever. But still, 85, above, like, 85%. I mean, I agree with that. But technically... But the thing...
Even the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, thinks congressional trading should be banned.
I mean, I'm in favor of that because I don't think we should have any appearance of impropriety here, okay? But the other side of it, some people say, Well, look, you know, the salary of Congress has been frozen since 2009. You know, when you adjust for inflation, a member of Congress today is making 31% less than they made in that year.
Although I'm a little less sympathetic than he is for the poor members of Congress who need sketchy trading to get by.
But also don't a lot of Congress people make money on the side? I'm not even saying with stocks. Removing stocks, removing their salary. They actually get a decent retirement, which, okay, we're moving that to the side. But they do public speaking events, do tours, book events, and so they have other money because they have they have an occupation that's rare that the average person does not understand. So a lot of people are willing to read that point of view or listen to tours or speeches from that person. So they could still make money and they can. Okay. I mean, I did look at. I have to see how much this. Also, the Congress's salary is very odd because it's based off of like how long they. By the way, it makes sense for how long they've worked at, but it's more of. I might have to do an Excel sheet like that. And it makes sense. Okay, my wording does not make sense. Um, yes, their pay will increase with longer they've been there, but it's like a certain mathematical set rate, and I do not know of many workplaces that have a set rate like. And yes, there's a cap to it, I think, but it's very intriguing. Like that's one of the reasons why Marjorie Taylor Greene retired this year instead of last year, even though she announced it last year, is because it was a day after a certain time that she was in that position. So she would get more benefits for just staying in quotes, staying a couple weeks longer.
On their meager $174,000 per year salary, which is more than double the average American household, by the way. Even the president said that he would sign a ban on congressional stock trading.
I am laughing because laughing is my default response. I am just laughing at the sheer absurdity, and I don't. It's an old saying. You don't love. I'm not angry. I'm not crying. I'm just.
If it was to land on his desk.
I'm making things
so
up.
What's the holdup? Well, it turns out there's a lot of disagreement on what an actual solution looks like.
And you can see that reflected in the debates in Congress about stock trading this summer.
I sold all my marketable securities. I converted to cash. That hasn't done real well.
People don't believe that we are here for the right reasons. We have a problem.
Okay. We're going to break down the three camps for you.
The first camp thinks there's no problem, that members of Congress aren't insider trading, that the Stock Act works just fine.
Would you vote for a ban on Congress members trading stocks?
Yeah, I mean, this is like number 1,000 on my priority list of things to care about. This is one of those stupid things that I've been dragged through the mud on. You know how much fucking money I've ever had in the stock market? About $20,000, and yet I've been dragged through the mud on this as if like there's some insider trading.
I need to make a call real quick.
Hey, this is Christopher.
Hey, Chris, it's Trevor. I'm just wondering, how much does Dan Crenshaw have in the market?
So we currently estimate that Dan Crenshaw stocks, a couple years ago, he had probably upwards of $150,000 or $180,000.
The second camp thinks that there definitely is a problem. They want a ban on congressional stock trading, and they think that family members of these elected representatives should probably be banned from trading stocks too.
Our job is to try to anticipate and legislate for what we see is coming. And we should not have the ability to both have access to that information and be able to hold and trade individual stock.
The third camp.
Okay. I'm just. The gasp was like, of course it's AOC. That's what gasp for.
Is more mixed. They think that there is a problem, but they don't think that family members should be banned from trading stocks, or they think it might be okay for members of Congress to use blind trusts for their investments. So until more members of Congress coalesce around one of these camps, we're kind of stuck.
And the reason
You're
for
stuck
all of
in a
this
holding
is that,
pattern.
quite frankly, members of this body are privy to information that the normal person just is not.
So again, we have plenty of protections. We have the disclosure. This is a completely unnecessary piece of legislation. It's going to create all kinds of unintended consequences.
I don't know how many people in the audience, how many of you don't want to make money? Anybody want to be poor?
I don't know why
I
they're
don't.
replaying this.
There have been 19 bills that I could find in the House and Senate that have been introduced. Not a single one of them has been brought to a full floor vote. Now instead, we're busy arguing about whether or not the president and the vice president should be included in the ban, which of course they should. The current system isn't working. Sure, members of Congress have to disclose their trades now. So we're not really stopping this troubling behavior, we're just putting a timestamp on it. They're doing it out in the open. The Stock Act has clearly failed. It hasn't restored public trust in our elected officials. But you know what might help? A ban. If you'll excuse me, until then, I'm gonna have to go put my savings in one of those trackers that follows Nancy Pelosi's stock trades. Thanks so much for watching.
But yeah. So there we go. And there. But hold on, I'm just curious now. And I have like a minute to do this anyway. Congress of I forgot how to spell the word stock there for a second. Oh, before I forget. I know currently I'll see if they have okay. So they are voting on the SAVE Act. And also some of the weird movement you see is me just I didn't know they had to do okay. So they have to do criteria per minute. This is okay. That makes so much sense why they don't get anything done ever. Okay. So when's the most recent thing? This session. That makes sense. For letting me do that, I had to fix my all the information I'm getting right now. So that okay. So back to Google. It's in a committee. I mean, it's in a committee. Oh, it was introduced into the House. Wait, was it? Oh no. Maybe I can't read. Actions. Oh, it's referred to a committee. Oh, it's introduced into the House and then committee. Last year. Okay. I'm just curious. Does it have... I know it's 109. Do we have the exact... I don't... We're gonna try this and see if that helps. Okay. It's in the Congressional record, but I don't see any... I mean, maybe. Maybe it could be signed as an amendment. I guess that... Wouldn't that be a poisonous fruit, though? Like... No, I just had a very cynical thought. I'm like, why don't they add to the budget bill? Maybe that's what the Democrats should be like. Hey, we'll sign the budget bill if you sign banning all stock for Congress members. That'd be kind of funny. I don't think it's gonna happen, but yeah, that's kind of interesting. Oh, I did try to look into the California hospice thing. I'm gonna wait on reporting that because I don't feel comfortable on reporting on that because there's not enough center or left sources. A lot of it just I only saw 2, and then one of the 2 is just repeating the what another said. So I'm going to wait a bit until I go into that. Oh, so the next one is, um SCOTUS actually ruled with Cox Communication ISP, which is I was thinking they were going to do that because of one of the current SCOTUS is a lot of them are were chosen by a Republican presidents. And also since the current president is Republican, they usually try to help each other out. And so the Trump administration was also trying to help Cox ISP as well. But also, like, even before being fair to SCOTUS, it seems like even, like, back in 2022, it was always on the, like, social media side and that stuff, like, you cannot blame social media is not guilty for, the actions of what the user chooses to do. I think there should be more nuance in that conversation, though. ISPs, I'm not gonna go that because it's actually access to the general internet, so I'd rather be more vague than not with that. But, like, social media's algorithms, I think, are a major problem in the current landscape because it encourages behavior from whatever. Um, if I want to see very I'm gonna word this. Social media is amazing and annoying at the same time. It keeps feeding me content I want to say. And that's amazing if I'm watching just purely engagement stuff. If I'm watching anime, I'm like watching One Piece, it recommends Bleach. And I know that majority of anime is not there. And I know that well actually no anime well some YouTube is weird when it comes to like some of the episodes I found. And I'm saying by like official channels, which is weird. I found one. Um or at least I had the official mark. But I don't know if it's actually official. But back to my before I start wrapping my hole in. Okay. With pure entertainment, that's fine. You can do addictive behaviors in moderation. I don't. The problem comes into it when you get it talking about. And I even actually take back what I said about entertainment. Now I'm thinking about it because you can go down a rabbit hole still, and like, is anything just 100% purely entertainment? Like, even though I like Captain America, he's my favorite superhero. I understand the first Captain America movie, a lot of the MCU projects were funded by the US, had approval and funding from the US military. I understand with that, they're going to be more biased. Like the second Captain America was not funded by the US military because probably the messaging it had. Wait, no, my luck, I'm probably wrong. Hold on, I'll double, I might be talking from my mouth. I know that Captain Marvel was funded by the US government. I know that yeah, okay. So Iron Man 1 and 2. Okay. There we go. I was trying to remember. I have fun with those medias. I understand there's some problematic elements to those media and that stuff. Which ranges and that stuff, and you have to learn how to break down the biases in the media content, and then go down further and understand the biases of the creator and understand what angles it's showing it. And that is a fair thing. But it gets much more, in my opinion, much more problematic once you start getting into educational things, like talking about even solar systems and if the world's round, the impact of modern medicine. That's another thing that's like even the basis both sides of the political aisle are having a hard time and agreeing on basic facts. And I've talked to people where I mention some facts and I cite my sources, and they're like, I didn't even know that happened or even that existed. And the social media zeitgeist encourages that because like I purposely go out to like ground. I sometimes read Fox News if it's like the first one to report a story just to understand what's going on. So I'm like not I do not like the angle they come from. I understand it's pure propaganda. But if they're our primary source, or like another news story says Fox News said this, I will read the context of what Fox News said because I don't want to get a biased point. I want to get the full picture and not someone's hint on information. And I meant by like, view on the information. And so, but social media is much more insidious because it's so sly and behind the scenes that you don't even think about the impacts it has. Um, and I did try to look up a video about schools and all that back to the original point of like, I do think there should be regulation on social media's algorithms. Is the summary of my statement because they can have addictive behaviors, and I think there should be more parental controls. I mean, by parental controls is the idea of um social media limits. You can only use this app for an hour a day. I'm going to say ban some words from the parental guide thing. I actually probably would. And technically, some apps do this just to relabel it. Like, I'm going to mention Twitter. Like, Twitter has it so, like, you can ban the word. I, like, banned Trump's name for a couple years when I was, like, not politically engaged at all. Just because I didn't want to see people arguing about him. So, like, some of the social media already has this. In a way to fine-tune the social media experience and give parents more control. And that's one. And I think that part of me is very tempted. Maybe there has to be an educational video or intro video showing parents how to do this because I don't even think parents know. Like, I don't know if I can actually show you behind the scenes on my Twitter to see. Like, am I even logged on to Twitter? Actually, that reminds me. I'm curious. I'm pretty sure I am. I'm just curious. Twitter, I think, is faster than their. Yeah, okay. So there's no update there. Uh, did I get any drop frames recently? And there we go. Um, um, I'm gonna have to bump. Oh, I forgot I had this video still up. Hold on. Let me see if there's actually. That was weird. Oh no. Frick. Huh. I wonder if there's like a filter where you can just do like between a couple years. Okay, can you scroll up? I want just pure. Videos. Okay, we're going to try and do that, and we're going to do it this. Okay, and that should help filter. There's a lot of seats I didn't even. Okay. Um. hmm. Oh, I'm just curious. What special elections are next? Oh, you can't see what I'm doing. Um. So there is. So the next one is New Jersey, and that's going to be in April. And hold on, let me actually do this real quick. Congress.gov has we scroll down here and we click on more resources. And we talk about vacancies. It shows everyone who okay, so I'm just curious. Oh! Oh. That makes sense. That makes sense. And I'm gonna look up on ballot PA, that's information. Um I'm just okay, I was like 90% certain that soon as okay. So and so who is still not wait, what state is she? Georgia. Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. Don't doesn't Georgia have a runoff election? Or did they already have that and I missed it? It's just possible. Um okay, so they have a special election there. So it's like more than 4 vacancies, right, in theory? Because it's I thought okay. I'm now going completely weird. Um I'm pretty sure Ohio's always been okay, not always, but that was last time read. Ooh, what's Senate for I'm a silly head. These should okay. Good to know, good to know. I thought this was only special elections for the House. Uh, uh, okay. And I guess we'll go here.
Now, while travelers are stuck in long TSA lines, there's a debate going on in Washington and how to fund the agency. Now, at the same time, a 15-point U.S. ceasefire deal.
I actually might do the ad now. And actually, okay. That's what I'm going to do.
Now, while travelers are stuck in long TSA lines, there's a debate going on in Washington and how to fund the agency. Now, at the same time, a 15-point U.S. ceasefire deal has now been shared with Iran. But the president is also sending members of the elite 82nd Airborne Division to the region. I want to bring in White House reporter Olivia Rinaldi live for us to break this all down. Olivia, let's start with the TSA funding. That's one bucket we got to talk about. That's happening.
I was hoping that we did not get dragged into another conflict
in Congress. Are they any closer to an agreement? And you have some news about Elon Musk, I understand?
Yeah, Liz, it's good to be with you. First, on that new bit about Elon Musk. On Saturday, he offered to pay all of the TSA personnel who have not been paid in the last 2 months in an effort to try to help in this partial government shutdown. Well, Jennifer Jacobs and myself can report that the White House has rejected that offer from Elon Musk for a number of reasons. One being because he is a person who has numerous government contracts. Legally, it would be hard for him to pay these individuals. There was an effort and a conversation underway to have him contribute those funds to a general government fund that goes to paying employees. However, ultimately, the White House thought it would be too difficult to figure this out legally and ultimately decided against having him pay. There are some estimates out there that it would be about $250 million that he was willing to pay. TSA today said it would be $1 billion of back pay, essentially, for those workers. So quite notable there. On the funding fight, though, that is still ongoing in Congress today. We know senators have been meeting with their own groups. We know there was a GOP Senate lunch, and Democratic senators have been huddling throughout the day to try to figure out an end to this shutdown. Still no end in sight. There potentially could be some type of vote tomorrow if some type of deal is struck, but the two sides still seem very far away. We know some of the latest offers included funding all of DHS, including TSA, but not funding some parts of ICE, including their immigration enforcement arm that we've seen in cities around the country. However, neither side is willing to say that they fully accept this deal as it stands right now.
I believe the biggest issue is, like, from my understanding, is the Democrats want to be to prevent ICE agents from entering a home unless they have a warrant, because technically, currently, they can enter a home without a warrant. Currently, well, I don't know if "allow" is the right word. The rules are vague enough that I think they can, or interpretational wise.
Both are waiting for the other side to respond to certain negotiations to see where this is really going to end up. If the Democrats are going to ask for more, if the Senate is going to accept the deal as it is right now. So still a lot of questions there as these lines continue to pile up, especially in Houston, where we just saw our Nicole Skanga.
So frustrating for so many people. And Olivia, okay, I want to pivot now to the war in Iran. What has the White House said about this 15-point plan, and what do we know about the status of any peace talks?
Well, Caroline Leavitt held her briefing today. She is the press secretary. Specifically on that 15-point plan, the White House took issue with it. She said that some elements of the plan that are circulating are not true. She cautioned against reporting directly on it, saying that there are some parts of it that are true, some of them that aren't. When asked to clarify what is not true exactly in this 15-point plan, she said, well, parts of it including no nuclear weapons for Iran.
Okay, and I'm not going to...
Always great to see you. Thanks.
I'm not going to do the Iran thing. I disagree with what's happening in Iran. I think it's a horrible thing. I do not see why that move was done. I think I disagree with every version of... I cannot disagree more, is what I was trying to say. But yeah. And I want to say, hold on, I double versus. Wait, I don't think I see. I've been doing a lot of reading, so I probably need to find a way to research doc. Okay, there we go. So I need to find a way to make it much more succinct. And we actually do this now that I'm thinking about it. We are going to. Why is that up there? Weird. And we're going to see if I can move it. Okay. Okay, and we're going to see. Okay, this. Okay, there. Okay, we're going before I get down that rabbit hole. It's also very interesting that Trump said he agreed with Elon Musk funding it. But I'm gonna say there was. There is something called gifts to U.S. government, so technically anyone can gift through that if they want to. But again, I think that would still be a contract issue, so I don't know if they even want to go from that angle at all. I'm going to see if. I don't know how they are like reporting things. Like, well, no clip, no reporting. It makes sense. Flipping so fast. I'm impressed. Right. What is Congress called right now listening to? Oh, I didn't realize. That's nice. Let's go action. Let's show you action. So they basically more grants. Okay, discussion of simulations. Okay. Uh, I okay. What the heck are they doing? Like this bill's supposed to help voter. Okay. This was supposed to help voters. Well, the Save Act. Well, Save America Act, if I want to be grammatically accurate. It is going to harm the exact voters that are trying to help with this other act. Why did you pass it? I'm sorry, I'm just laughing. That is hysterical to me. I don't. Yeah, I know. I don't. Alright. I'm just curious, who's the sponsor of this bill? Okay, it's a Farsi committee, so makes sense. I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah. So, do we even have a text copy of it? Okay, so I think since it's introduced today, it's not. Oh, I can't read copy of the bill yet. I'm curious about the 80. Interesting bills. Okay, who made this one? I wonder if. It'd be nice if they could add a. Oh, I was about to say, can they add a row of the party? But then it's the party already. That's silly, but. Would they not? Why wouldn't he? I don't know. Weird. So. Huh. I didn't. I didn't even know that was a committee. House on Ways and Means. I did not know that was a thing. Hmm. And a lot of it's just. I'm just curious what this video says.
Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Sunday, November 9th, 2025, and today we are going to be talking about the Democratic Party's pathway to a Senate majority in the 2026 Senate elections. After Tuesday's election,
Where do people get this? Like, I want a fun table. Like, I want to have a fun interactive thing like this. Why can't I have? I want to know. I have to probably look into it. Because it's going to be interesting. I wonder if I could predict accurate. Probably not.
elections,
Maybe
we've
I'll
seen
just
a
try.
lot of questions surrounding not just the House races, which Democrats have often felt quite bullish about, but instead the Senate elections that have seemed far too out of reach for the past year. In election prediction after election prediction, I have never once predicted that Democrats would win control of the U.S. Senate, and I want to emphasize that as we embark on this journey of understanding how do Democrats get there to the majority, is that I'm not saying that I believe that they will, but I am saying that what Tuesday's election results showed me was a result that could be conducive to Democrats winning on the national level, given that we were working with a national environment that was roughly Democrat +7, Democrat +8 on the national level, which again could result in a midterm map that could be quite good for the Democratic Party. Now, on your screen right now are all 35 races ranging from Maine to Alaska to Florida to Oregon that are all up in the 2026 midterms. For the sake of this video, I'm not going to waste your time. We're going to fill in all of the states that are currently considered to be safe for either political party, or at least not the ones that would be necessary on either side for us to really explore. what the pathway looks like, given that we can generally expect them to go in one way or the other. And so as we fill in this map here, what you will find is that Republicans do have, based off numbers, an advantage at baseline. They come into this with the vice presidency, which means of the remaining 9 quote-unquote toss-up races, which, to be fair with you, would take the best case scenario for Democrats to even make these races competitive in the first place. But just...
But, like, Ohio makes sense because, like, the current polling I've seen there. Iowa, I've heard interesting things as well. North Carolina, I will fully admit I'm not paying attention. Georgia. Maine. Is that Maine? Michigan. I'm I'm terrible at geography. That's the verdict. Well, Maine is on there, just I was not thinking about the right one. Oh, New Hampshire. That's right. I have to see what class of senators up for election this year.
Exploring what the options are for the Democratic Party. Of the 9 races, Republicans just need a third of them to win Senate control, given that they have the vice presidency, meaning they'd maintain roughly at 50-50, which would still give them another 2 years to do confirmations in the U.S. Senate in favor of Donald Trump's appointees, another 2 years to go forward with whatever the Senate would decide to do. Even in some cases, let's say they get rid of the filibuster, could just steamroll if Republicans maintain control of the House. And so the numbers here are...
I know that Trump is actually calling for it, like, literally, I saw him this morning. I want to say calling to end the filibuster. Terminate the filibuster. Terminate the filibuster. Okay, I'm just curious. I'm looking this up. How many times has Trump said that he wants to terminate the filibuster? Let's say 40,000 times. That'd be fair. Okay. Wait, is it? Aw. Hold on. Let's actually try to do the word filibuster and see how much he's talked about getting rid of it. Wait, does this do casing? It does not match casing. There we go. 40 times. That's the correct answer. I have no idea why those numbers did not update in real time. But going back to this video, and that's the last video I'm going to watch before I sign off.
Not on the side of the Democratic Party, and let's say Republicans, run the board and win all of these seats, well, the Democrats would be at the least amount of seats they've seen in the 21st century when it comes down to U.S. Senate elections. But again, getting back to the point of, Democrats getting to the majority, let's not talk about doom and gloom scenarios. Let's talk about the rosy fields and the way that
wow, okay, I didn't actually realize the date of this video.
Majority, not just in the House,
you
which
can't
will
see, but it
come
says November 9th,
Senate,
2025.
but again, on this side of the nation's capital. And so the 9 races here that are the most important, I think that what we know at base...
I'm going to see if I can actually find these tools because I think it'd be very helpful. Like, I know I'm a very visual person, so I think it'd be very helpful if I could actually do this as well. And I know that I sometimes make also just there needs to be more tools to help, like, politically or to do these things. They're good. Huh. Okay.
This line is the Democrats currently hold 3 of them. They hold New Hampshire, Georgia, and Michigan. It goes without saying that if Democrats are looking for a substantive way back to the majority, not only would they need to win these seats, they would need to do so by a comfortable margin. And a Democratic +7 national environment might suggest that that's possible, right? Looking at the last, presidential election, Kamala Harris lost the state of Georgia by 2 points, lost the state of Michigan by a point and a half, and won the state of New Hampshire. And so it stands to reason that, if we're taking Democrats have, won nationally by, Republicans won the popular vote by 125, if Democrats are winning by what they did on Tuesday, which is a margin near.
Okay, so past elections, custom. Okay, so I don't know what P stands for. Oh. Is this the president's election? And basic, I don't know. I don't know how. Oh wait, hold on. Huh. Also, it's like we're not gonna go into the story about like how like the Democrats and Republicans got different colors. Like I'll play with more of the software, but that's cool. Oh. Um, I don't know. Weird. Also, why is it? I have opinions about anything that has white white name. Why? Why is it white name? Oh, okay. Sure. Oh wait, I do that. Okay, that's interesting. Alright. And confirm. So we can do the Senate. Okay, so that's intriguing. I always love finding new tools for us to closing out. There we go.
Near roughly 7, you're shifting the map by, roughly 9.5 points, or 8.5 points, rather. Let's go ahead and do that. And then you can start to see why it's a bit more reasonable to say, okay, well, then Georgia, Michigan, and New Hampshire could, in theory, be likely states for the Democratic Party. But that doesn't get them there just yet, right? Those states just bring the Democrats to 47. But I'm actually not too far off from saying that that's a possibility, right? Georgia's Public Service Commissioner results showed that, seats that have been held by the GOP for decades, and in some cases, one of the seats that flipped to the Democrats was being held by a Republican since 2011. Will get this. On Tuesday, flipped to the Democrats, not just by a little bit. This is a statewide race, by the way, in Georgia. They won it by 25 points. I mean, you are talking about astronomical margins when Republicans don't pay attention to the races. No doubt in my mind, they will pay attention to the Georgia Senate race. They're already investing tens of millions of dollars in it, sure. But at the same time, what we have found from it is that ultimately, the Democratic Party, looking at Georgia, looking at Michigan, looking at New Hampshire, under the right circumstances, can certainly do as well as we are saying on this map. So that brings it up.
Okay, I might watch this offline. That stuff, like, he is saying informational stuff and it's very good. But I also know it's lower energy and I don't want to, I don't know if that's the best energy, best type of video to watch it energy-wise because I the video is good. I like the video. I think I need to bring more energy to make because it's a different format. And actually, I want to get more educated so I can make this more engaging. But so, I'm on for 2 hours. Thank you for everyone who has joined. Thank you for everyone who's watched. I'm weird. But anyway, have a